everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you again so much for tuning in. I'm Simmer Chase, and today is yet another episode here at the Federalist Building. Yes, so today's episode is actually featuring unit number 4. Yes, so I'm really excited to show you guys this one. It is actually kind of my impression and interpretation a little bit of Maryland. Yes, one of our 13 original colonies here in the US. And just to kind of like maybe bring up history, but things were pretty much built out of whatever was readily accessible because America was being, while, you know, the UK and Europe was mostly civil and very prim and proper, so to speak, here in the Western Hemisphere, in like the United States. Funny because we were more like roughing it, like really. So we had to build everything. And so we used a lot of like whatever was readily available. And so one of the things that happened was mining, and there was a lot of limestone and there was a lot of stone in general around the Atlantic that they used. And then also here in like Indiana, for instance, we have a lot of limestone as well. And so it's cool because they mined a lot of like stuff from here, for instance, to build like the expansion of the Capitol building and to complete that project. And then some of the other buildings and monuments that we have actually come from like the Midwest limestone industry, which is really cool. And some of the quarries that we have that are now like lakes or whatever because they've been filled, you know, over time. So it's just fascinating the amount of like architecture and like really strong buildings, and some of which are the Federalist style in Maryland. So you either made bricks from the clay that was in the dirt and you let it set out, add water, you'd add water to it and then let them set out in the sun, and then those were your bricks. Or if you wanted plaster, they would mix mud and some like sand and junk together, literally, and that was, you know, your plaster. Basically, there might be little leaves, twigs, sticks, things, but it was like lime and a few other things that they would put together and just make it. And also, yes, not only with plaster did they do that, but there was just so many other things that were just sort of like impromptu and done on site. So you just kind of like literally dealt with whatever you had there. And when I think of Maryland, I really think of a lot of like really stronger tones because, like I said, the government, they have several offices and a lot of like our government functions are still in Maryland. And then we have like Baltimore, for instance, and we have like several other like cities that just have their own distinct character, you know, from outside of like that sort of setup, because there's just so many different sorts of groups of people within Maryland. So again, it's another like mixed medley of really neat demographics and of people that are just really, it's neat to really be able to say that we have here in the United States. And it's just been really cool to be able to kind of bring that to you guys. So now we are going through and looking at the unit, and with this one, I gave it like a really airy open feel because there is a lot going on, like history-wise, with sort of like the purple bedroom, everything being soft, because with the sort of beachy tones that I wanted for the East Coast were more of just like a soft and muted tone and like pastel tones, and not necessarily like blue, even though there is like the blue wallpaper, for instance. But I also wanted to go a little high end and like Louis style, so to speak, or like that really mission style, so that it really just kind of really brought that old history vibe back, because a lot of things were imported from the UK to really build Maryland and kind of get it going. Our first few states or colonies really have a lot of pieces and elements and design, even aspects and cues from, like, if you look at their state houses, which are like where their local or like state governments go, they are really opulent and really cool. And then there's just a lot of like neat Federalist style buildings, which are just these, big like sort of stone giant fortresses that are just solid, because then they're can handle any inclement weather, and then they can hold in the cooler, damper temperatures. So then in the summertime, it really helps with insulation and that kind of stuff, so that you're just not, baking in a cardboard box, like, if you had regular drywall, because back in the day, like any sort of drywall wouldn't have been what it is now. It would have been like something akin to like a Pizza Hut box. And I know, because I've had to rip it down in real life. It's not fun, and it is, definitely wear masks, plural, yes, and lots of clothing as much as you can. And then I wanted to make everything very practical, space conscious as well, because it is getting very dense out in Maryland and just on the East Coast in general. So I really wanted to really make it just feel bright and open, like the coastal areas, but then give it those like homey touches. And then then of course that like old historic vibe too, with some of the furniture collections, and then the way that I did like the old school style tile on the walls in the bathroom, and just bringing in like a little bit of gold tones and things like that, just again to bring in that old like Louis style, so to speak, like that old English royal vibe. And now we actually have our access here to the back, and this is the the second unit of 3 that have access to out here. So it's like a very exclusive little VIP lounge for the VIP apartment owners, or like condo owners. So this is a fun little lounge to get to go out to. And this is again what I was kind of talking about with, if you create the really tall ceilings, then you can really maximize the value of having those glass roofs, and you only have to do a little bit of it. Like, you don't have to do the whole building, and you could even do like a sliver down the middle just to do like a skylight, like I did, where I did like little chunks. So it's all just kind of depends on kind of how you feel about that. But over in the East Coast, there was that big boom, like during like the 40s and 30s, the gold rush. So a lot of people then envisioned like the mountains and going out west. So then we had a big population change too, back, in the early 1900s. A lot of people went west, and then they were filled with new immigrants and new people that have then helped further shape our country and do interesting different things. There's just so much that we're lucky to enjoy here. And I hope someday maybe we can all start focusing again on like what makes us good, and what we're lucky to enjoy and have already, and not stress so much about what things were, because it's always going to evolve. And that's why I really wanted to make sure that I built this too, to really kind of give everybody that sort of vibe and understanding that it's all like, you can still have things from a really long time ago in your life, or in your everything going on in the day-to-day, but you can always just add a little bit of freshness to it, and then it makes it a whole new feeling, and then might actually help like break that rut or that cycle, and help propel like positive growth. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Stay proud and go out and do something magical. Have a great day. Thanks again.